Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we were in Topeka for the Kansas Soybean Expo. We'll talk with their leadership. Lucas Heinen from Everest wrapping up his time as president of the Kansas Soybean Association, and Kurt Maurath from Oakley, the chairman of the Kansas Soybean Commission. We will also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and Kansas Farm Bureau, along with our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. And agriculture news from agview.net. Well, with a change in administration in Kansas, that means a new Secretary of Agriculture. Laura Kelly has named Mike Beam to lead the KDA with their headquarters located in Manhattan. Beam, a native of Jewell County in north central Kansas, he has been on the staff of the Kansas Livestock Association for 38 years. We will have an in-depth interview with Secretary-designate Beam on a future Kansas Ag Report. He replaces Jackie McClaskey, who served as secretary since December of 2013. Well, U.S. corn and soybean yields between 2013 and 2018 both well above trend lines. Corn yields were 8.2 bushels per acre above the trend line, while soybean yields were 3.7 bushels per acre above the trend line. Now, those numbers come from a University of Illinois study. Soybeans were above trend line in every state that the crop is grown in. While all of the states show above trendline yields, that doesn't necessarily mean they're all equally high. An example, South Dakota soybean yields were much higher than the surrounding states. Corn yields varied by as much as 40 bushels to the acre geographically. 7 corn-growing states finished with yields of at least 20 bushels an acre above the trend line, and 5 states showed yield up to as much as 18 bushels an acre below the trend line. You can find more ag news online at agview.net. Coming up, we talk soybeans here on the Kansas Ag Report. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web, oldeseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. More at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Hi, I'm Sue Schulte with Kansas Corn, and here's what's going on with the Kansas Corn Growers Association and the Kansas Corn Commission. While the Commission invests checkoff funds into market development, education, research, and promotion efforts, the Association represents KCGA members in policy and regulatory issues. Here's an update on trade. Trade is an area of emphasis, and Kansas Corn continues to work with NCGA and our trade development partners like U.S. Grains Council and the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Tariff and trade disputes have already been costly to Kansas farmers, but the long-term damage that these disputes are causing to our trade relationships is of greater concern. We support a resolution to the tariffs that damaged markets and lowered prices not only for corn but many other ag products, including corn products like red meat and ethanol. We also support final ratification of the USMCA trade agreement between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. Mexico is the #1 export buyer of U.S. corn, a top buyer of many other ag products, and is a promising market for ethanol exports. The Kansas Corn Commission continues to aggressively support export market development programs and host trade teams throughout the year to build relationships with our customers. In our view, by building more trade relationships around the world, we are building not only our farm economy, but our state and national economies as well. Find out more by following Kansas Corn on social media or by visiting our website at kscorn.com.
Well, the Kansas Soybean Expo took place in Topeka a few days ago, and we're going to spend moments now talking with some of the leaders of the Kansas soybean industry. And joining us now, Lucas Heinen, who is now the outgoing president of the Kansas Soybean Association. And Lucas, this event always brings in soybean growers, and one of the things is kind of that finalization of looking at some of the policies that you all have moving forward.
Mm-hmm. This is an important This is our function as an association, is policy, and so we like to go over that with a fine-tooth comb, see if we need to make any changes or any additions.
Well, let's, I guess, look kind of both directions. Let's first start in Kansas. Things just getting underway. New governor, some new things going on. Any big significant things as far as looking from a state level?
At the state level, we're excited to work with the new people coming in. I've actually met Lieutenant Governor-elect Lynn Rogers on a farm tour with Farm Bureau several months ago, and he has an ag background, so I think he's real accommodating, and I think he's ready to work with us as a soybean group and as farmers in general.
All right, so the other thing, obviously, from a federal standpoint, there's a lot of things that have been affecting soybean growers, and the least of which has been, well, at least we got a farm bill done, but no way to implement it.
Yeah, isn't it something? We did get the farm bill passed, and we know what's in it. But you're right, we don't have any with the government shutdown. It hasn't been implemented. On the national front, the Chinese trade issue is still looming large. I think every day we get closer to resolution. That's what we hope, and I think that's coming. As outgoing president, I won't get to celebrate that resolution, the resolution of that issue. But there's exciting times ahead for the U.S. soybean farmer and Kansas farmers in general.
Okay, let's talk about that, because as we know, 2018 is one that was a challenge, not only from no rain, then almost too much rain, and that harvest that would never end. And so that kind of looks at, as we look at this next growing season, any as far as changes, but you talked about that optimism and your excitement. Maybe explain a little bit more of that.
Oh, the excitement for 2019. Well, 2018 was a fine year. I mean, for me and for our farm, we experienced a lot of hardships. It was a long, hot, dry summer followed by a really wet harvest, which is not how you'd like to have it. But, with modern farming and technology, we still had yields that were okay. But 2019, I think as farmers we're ready to start again. The ones that 18's in the books, we're ready for 19, and we're going to do it again the best we know how and grow a tremendous crop.
Okay, before we let you go, quick pitch. Why should Kansas soybean farmers be a member of the Kansas Soybean Association?
They should be a member because we are a strong and a loud voice in Topeka and in D.C. for policies that directly affect soybean producers, their farms, their families, their incomes, and really not just farms, but soybean industry in general. Our elected officials need to hear from the people who really get their hands dirty. It sounds cliche, but it's the truth. There needs to be a rural connection to our, I guess, increasingly urban government and policymakers. And we are that connection. We're proud to do it. We're glad to do it. And they want to hear what we have to say. And what we tell them is what the members tell us.
All right, Lucas. Well, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for your time in leadership in the association. And we're sure we'll talk to you down the road.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
Lucas Heinen, who is from Everest and the outgoing chairman of the outgoing president of the Kansas Soybean Association. Stay with us. More in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. And AgView.net, covering news and views in the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt. Reliable and relevant, AgView.net.
Imagine having someone help you pick the best corn hybrids for every field on your farm. Your Oldie representative can combine your data with his data to offer a field-by-field prescription. Contact Oldie Seed today at 877-692-4555.
This Medford, New Jersey school bus runs on biodiesel, and so do these. In fact, all of these buses run on clean-burning biodiesel, which is great because the more we use biodiesel in our heavy-duty vehicles, the less carbon pollution in our air. Think how great it would be if more of our school buses ran on biodiesel. More biodiesel, less carbon pollution. More is less. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
And welcome back. We're going to spend a few moments now with Kurt Maurath, who is a farmer from Oakley, and he is the chairman of the Kansas Soybean Commission, as we were at the Kansas Soybean Expo here in Topeka just a few days ago. And so let's talk about activities of the commission. You're the farmer elected leaders that take care of the checkoff dollars.
Right, and as he said, we just finished the expo up, and we're a proud supporter of that. Our association does a great job of bringing farmers to town, and so we can show what we're doing as commission. We do bring some of our researchers in here that we've awarded money to, so they can talk about what they've been studying, what they've been watching for us, and that all started back in December when we have a big meeting that we bring all the researchers in that want us to study stuff for them, and then we award out the checkoff dollars to them to try to benefit the Kansas soybean farmers by new research, or we also are all into international programs in which we're trying to get rid of this big crop. We have to increase our exports, and so we team up with USB and with companies like USEC, and we've just got to expand our markets. We've got to get them opened up to ship these beans worldwide.
Well, one of the things I know is that presenters here are looking at the continued increase in yields of soybean. That is something unique, and especially like in your area, as we continue to see kind of the soybean belt move further west.
Yes, we do are seeing more beans in western Kansas, mostly irrigated, but there are more farmers trying them dry land. And one of the things that's helped us is the Extend bean. Being able to use dicamba to control the resistant kochia that we have out there has helped a lot. And but just the irrigation technology that we also help sponsor and study on the best ways, the best timing for irrigation water soybeans, and it's just a really unique challenge. Last year, Western Kansas had a 100-bushel bean crop, and this year in our yield contest, we also had a 104-bushel bean crop from Southwest Kansas. So soybeans do have a fit in Western Kansas. It's just tying the whole process together and getting the rotation working well.
Okay, let's talk about what you have kind of learned your time on the commission. It's probably one thing, you pay that check off, but know exactly where it goes, and it's really a big responsibility. So maybe talk about those steps, and and being a farmer, still having to take care of business, but also what are you learning as being part of the checkoff board?
Well, there's a lot of steps to it, but we have these researchers come with us with proposals, and we want to make sure we're not studying that something's been studied in other states. So we do have an organization, NCRSP they research in 12 states, so we can tell what's being researched in other states. So we're watching that. So often the costs are thrown. We get frustrated, when the farmer's barely making a living, but yet we may have a guy that wants $300 an hour. And honestly, we don't like to put up with that too well. We want them to be realistic with our money. We want to spend it wisely. And so those are the things we're watching as commissioners, that we're being very useful with our money, not overspending it, but yet trying to find some really good research that would really break open the soybean yield or a market somewhere to help out the Kansas soybean farmer.
All right, Kurt, we appreciate the update, and thanks for your service.
Well, thank you for your service as well.
Kurt Maurath from Oakley, who is the chairman of the Kansas Soybean Commission. Stay with us. We'll have more on the Kansas Ag Report.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
All Kansas farmers are invited to the Kansas Commodity Classic on Thursday, January 24th, 2019. The Kansas Commodity Classic is the annual convention of Kansas's top crops, corn, wheat, grain sorghum, and soybeans, and will take place at the K-State Alumni Center in Manhattan with registration and breakfast beginning at 7:30 a.m. Thanks to the generous support of the Kansas Corn, Wheat, Grain, Sorghum, and Soybean Associations and our sponsors, registration is free for farmers and friends. The morning session will open at 8:30 a.m. with welcome remarks. Elected officials have been invited to give updates on the new Farm Bill and other pertinent issues affecting Kansas farmers. Also on the day's agenda is a weather outlook from meteorologist Ross Jansen from KWICH in Wichita, and a Farm Bill panel which will include Robin Reed, Extension Associate in Kansas State University's Department of Agricultural Economics, and Kansas FSA Director David Shem. Matt Roberts will end the day with a presentation on marketing through tough economic times. He is an agricultural economist at the Kermantle Group, a commodity risk management and education consulting firm in Columbus, Ohio. He frequently speaks on grain, petroleum, and biofuels markets, and is also an active consultant to the commodity industry. Thanks to the generous platinum and silver level sponsors, the event is free to attend and includes a complimentary breakfast and lunch. However, pre-registration is requested for food count purposes. Visit kansascommodityclassic.com to register.
My name is Chelsea Champlin, and my husband and I are from Chautauqua County, where we're involved on the county board, as well as we are both serving as the Kansas 4th District representatives on the Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee. One of the main things that we do is we help put on the conference in February that it just helps engage and bring, get the younger generation involved. Something new that we're starting to implement in recent years is reaching out to more of like the next generation of Farm Bureau, the FFA and 4-H members. trying to do things through the FFA discussion meet and just ways that we can engage those, especially the 18-year-olds that can be in Farm Bureau, get them excited about leaving their 4-H and FFA programs and then joining into Farm Bureau, which can provide a lot of the same opportunities and utilize the skills that they've learned in those other organizations. Policy and politics in general is like a very daunting, somewhat overwhelming word or thing to think about, I think. And in Farm Bureau, it breaks it down and it makes you realize how you do have a voice and how your opinion, you might feel like it's small or insignificant, but when you join with Farm Bureau in the organization, you have a big and powerful voice. And so to me, it's really just made politics and policy less intimidating. And so that's what I like about it, is just it gives me an opportunity to learn and know what's going on, and just another resource versus just what you see on the news or on the internet or something like that.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil, and the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Beef demand remained strong during 2018. According to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, beef demand index values for January through October averaged 6% higher than the same time period of 2017. This trend has been at work for several years. The beef demand index indicates 2018 retail beef demand was 15% higher than January 2012. Data shows stronger overall beef demand was driven by the loin and ground beef. Demand for the chuck has been steady, while round demand has been weaker. Production of prime and choice beef has grown in recent years due to improved genetics and other herd and feeding management practices. Economic analysis confirms consumers are responding positively to the higher quality beef supply available in the marketplace. Strong demand increases have been observed for choice beef. NCBA reports branded beef programs have helped drive the quality awareness and experience among consumers. Despite lower priced protein alternatives, including poultry and pork, consumers have remained willing to pay up for increasing supplies of higher quality beef. Both domestic and export demand were strong during 2018. Growth in the U.S. economy was one of the key drivers of beef demand. The full report is available on beefitswhatsfordinner.com.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat, online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn, online, kscorn.com.
Good morning, I'm Darren Van Vactor with Paragon Ag. It's like a traffic jam in the grain markets. Corn and soybeans have remained range-bound, deflecting off of resistance, then holding support, sourcing to find something new to talk about. All the while, wheat is looking for a spark of its own. Every time we try to get excited and put our foot on the gas, we see brake lights ahead. We were hopeful to hear of some more substantial trade progress with the Chinese negotiations last week. Tap the gas. That has not materialized yet. Tap the brakes. South American weather forecasts were looking hot and dry. Tap the gas. Then they got some rain. Tap the brakes. Also, private analysts projected a fairly large cut in South American grain production due to weather. Tap the gas. Then we saw the official government projection cutting that in half. You get the idea. We can't seem to push through. The government also remains gridlocked on funding the wall, so the partial shutdown drags on. We have already missed the January report and weeks of export sales data and delayed government payments due to the issue. All this stop-and-go, range-bound action can be frustrating, but it can also give some opportunities. These opportunities just may not line up with when you want to go. If you're at a stop and looking for an opportunity, give us a call here at Paragon Ag Advisors, 888-452-8751. I'm Aaron Vactor. Be safe and have a great week.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us online, kansasagreport.net, or on Facebook and Twitter. The show is also in podcast form on castbox.fm. Just search for Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. We'll see you next week.